Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the National Timely Action Hour podcast. My name is Aiden, and this is the show where we talk about everything from Star Wars to Batman and everything in between. I hope that you're all doing very well. Today we are on Season 2, Episode 11, Can Luke Skywalker Defeat Darth Maul? Well, to put it bluntly and a long story short, yes, but let me go a bit deeper. So, as we all know, Luke Skywalker is the main character of the Star Wars saga, and he is the chosen one in the prophecy that the Jedi Order had. Now, that is up to debate, and granted, there is a very strongly worded case, a strong case for his father, Anakin. However, Luke ultimately fulfilled the prophecy. So, Darth Maul, on the other hand, is one of the most talented and ruthless Sith Lords that ever existed in the Star Wars canon, and he was very strong in the Force, although he preferred to settle things with his blade. And he used a double-bladed staff-style lightsaber. Now, in my History of Darth Maul episode, shameless plug, go listen to that episode, we talk about how other Sith Lords found that to be a more savage weapon than the standard lightsaber. So that just goes to show part of his personality. And if you've seen the films and the Clone Wars animated television series, you know how brutal this man can be. So, what would happen if he faced off against the hero of our story? So, now bear in mind, this is Darth Maul in his prime, so during Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and this is Luke during his prime in Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. So, these peak specimens of light and dark side are an interesting matchup, to say the least, because, like I said, they're the pinnacle, in my opinion, of someone who fully embodies that side of the Force. Now, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Force is an energy field that penetrates us, surrounds us, and binds the galaxy together. So, the Force can control you, but you can also control the Force. Really depends on how strong you are, and both spiritually and mentally, not just physically, as Yoda said. It's about a spiritual strength more so than a physical one in one's arms and legs and abdomen. But both men are extremely strong. So Luke is in his 20s at this point, and Maul, I believe, is about late 20s, early 30s, and so they're about around the same age group, although Maul obviously was born long before Luke was, but again, this is bending space and time to bring them together in a duel. So both are very strong and capable warriors. Luke was trained by the Jedi Grandmaster Yoda in the Force and in lightsaber combat, and he did gain a little bit of lightsaber training from Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Darth Maul was trained by Darth Sidious in the Force and lightsaber combat. So they were both trained by the experts, and as we all know, Darth Sidious was a master of all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, as was Yoda, and they were both very, very strong in the Force, and they were in tune with it. Yoda being more serene, zen, in tune with the light side of the Force, balanced at this point of his life, after he's had time to reflect on the events of the Clone Wars and the Imperial rise to power. And the Emperor was in tune with the dark side of the Force and used that for his personal gain, as all Sith Lords do. So Both were masters of lightsaber combat at this point, and both were very strong in the Force. So if they, if they met in a duel, it would probably be on some remote world in the Outer Rim where no one is around. It's just the two of them, so they can focus mano a mano on the other. And it would be this planet. So we know that in the lore that Dagobah, the planet that Yoda was on during his exile, was strong in the dark side, which masked his light side energy, which is why he was able to hide from the Empire for over 20 years. So let's say that the planet that they're dueling on is in balance with the Force. Both in the light and dark side are equal on this world. I don't know any specific world like that off the top of my head. It might come back to me after I stop recording this episode, so please forgive me. But let's say they meet on a world in the Outer Rim that is in balance with the Force, so it's not leaning more towards one or the other, and they both have their signature blades. Luke has his green bladed lightsaber that he constructed himself, and Maul has his double-bladed crimson lightsaber that he constructed himself. Both are wearing their black robes, and they meet each other in the middle of the wilderness, and they take off their robes, and Luke offers Maul a helping hand in fellowship, and says, "We do not have to fight, Maul. I see the good in you." And Maul says, "No, Skywalker, I'm far too gone now. There is no hope for me. I embrace the dark side of the Force, and so shall you, or you will die." And so they draw their swords, and they ignite their sabers, and they lock in combat. Maul does a flip and strikes first. Luke defends, and so Form 3 of lightsaber combat was what Obi-Wan Kenobi had to use to defeat Maul, because that's a more defensive form. Now Yoda, being the master of all 7 forms, taught Luke this while he was training him on Dagobah for about 3 months. And when Luke left Dagobah to save his friends afterwards, he traveled across the galaxy and went to Obi-Wan Kenobi's old hut and read his journal, and that's how he was able to construct his lightsaber. And he used Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber kyber crystal, which is why his saber was green canonically. And he learns how to defend against Maul's attacks, and they engage in their fight. They are both swinging ferociously, although Luke is a bit more measured in his strikes, and Maul is, since this is Phantom Menace Maul, he's just a wild man. He's going crazy. He's doing flips and kicks and slashes and cuts, and Luke gets cut and Maul gets cut, and these men are fighting to not only prove that they are correct in that either A, the dark side of the Force, or B, the light side of the Force is stronger, but also to prove themselves worthy of their mantles of Jedi Knight and Sith Lord. So they are fighting, and this is after Luke has defeated Vader, so he's already very strong and is battle tested, and so both men are fighting. There would be epic music playing, composed by John Williams and performed by the London Philharmonic Orchestra, and so ultimately it's not, they're equally matched in the blade. Now we have to see how they would fare against each other in a battle of the Force. So I think that this is where Luke gets his edge, because Luke is much more focused and much more serene at this point in his life, and he is trying his best to really get in tune with the Force. Now, he has the Force telekinesis, and he can lift Maul up and throw him, or he can lift up rocks and throw them at him, but he can also use the Force to try to calm his mind, and Maul's sheer rage pushes that out of them. They both can use the Force to choke, as we see at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. Luke chokes the guards at Jabba's palace to get in. So they're choking each other with the Force, but Luke is not succumbing to the dark side. He's a lot like Mace Windu here, where he can both use the light and the dark in service of the light, because that's why Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber, canonically. The real reason is because Samuel L. Jackson wanted to have a cool-looking lightsaber, and he said, hey, purple is a cool color, make that my lightsaber. And George Lucas is like, sure, I'll just write that in somehow to fit in. But anyway, he's a lot like Master Windu in that he can use both for the light side. So Luke would be using the Force to repel Maul and try to calm him down, and then when that doesn't work, push him away and attack him, and then they go back to crossing blades, and then Maul uses the Force to push Luke against a boulder, and Luke then is able to block, and then he cuts Maul's leg, and then ultimately he has to slow him down, and ultimately Luke would win this duel. Again, because he's much more in tune with the Force, and him being the chosen one, he is much more powerful in it than Maul ever could possibly dream to be. And so that is how I believe that Luke Skywalker would defeat Darth Maul. Now, like I said, it's both an ideological battle as well as a battle of spirituality and of sheer strength and skill. So tell me, what do you think? Who would win in the battle? And if you want me to do more episodes like this, please let me know. So thank you for listening to the National Timely Action Hour podcast. Once again, my name is Aiden, and I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you had fun, and I sincerely wish that you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Goodbye.